The Tories promised £6 billion worth of cuts in the election campaign. Now Chancellor George Osborne is about to tell you where the axe will fall. He set out a plan which includes an emergency budget, which will take place in just 5 weeks' time.
If we fail to tackle the deficit we inherited from the previous government, the consequences could be disastrous. If we don't get on top of our debt, every family in Britain will be poorer, and the dreams of millions of young people will be dashed.
There is clearly a very big job to be done to tackle the public sector deficit, and nobody should doubt the determination of both coalition partners to take action which is early, which is decisive, which is credible, and which is aggressive.
Next week, Osborne and Laws will set out the £6 billion cuts, which are expected to come in travel costs, IT contracts, recruitment and other areas. The full coalition agreement may also be published next week. Once that's in place, we'll also find out what laws the coalition wants to pass. In the Queen's speech, which preempts the emergency budget, which will unveil tax rises and future cuts in 5 weeks' time. A new independent body will forecast growth and borrowing under the economist Sir Alan Budd, George Osborne taking that power from individual ministers.
I am the first Chancellor to remove the temptation to fiddle the figures by giving up control of the economic and fiscal forecast. I recognise that this will create a rod for my back down the line and for the backs of future Chancellors. That is the whole point. We need to fix the budget to fit the figures, not fix the figures to fit the budget.
Having a Liberal Democrat at George Osborne's side as these cuts are introduced are hoped to dampen the hostility from voters towards the Conservative Party.
Is this about dipping Liberal Democrat hands in the sort of blood of having to deal with this deficit? Well, in a sense, it is, but frankly, there is no way in which a coalition could be sustainable unless both partners in that accepted their responsibility to deal with the biggest challenge of the coalition, which is to get the deficit under control.
Our economy is growing, our borrowing is coming down, our public finances are in a difficult position, but that's not surprising considering the downturn we've been through. The risk is, if the Liberals and Tories start to take a lot of money out of the economy now, we run the risk of tipping ourselves back into recession.
And how bad does the ash cloud have to be before the engine actually stops?
David Cameron disagrees with that. He says the sooner cuts are introduced, the better.